Hello, YouTube. Well, it's a beautiful day out. I got my window open. It says it's 54 there in the bird pen, but I'm in direct sun, so it's warmer than that. Maybe not much warmer, but it still feels good. We have somebody coming in tomorrow or the next day, either Thursday or Friday, to give us an estimate on how much it would take to get that terraced garden ready to go so that we can drop these right here. Those are all little currant and gooseberry bushes. We're going to plant those out there. I've got a fig tree, want that out there. I got the pair of pink lemonade blueberry bushes that have to be planted together because they've been intertwined in that tub for 11 years, but they need to go out there. Rosemary, just a whole bunch of stuff. It's gonna go full of perennial shrubs and berry bushes, and around the perimeter is where we're gonna plant these currants and gooseberries here because the deer don't eat them, nor do they eat figs. So, and we're gonna put the blueberries and stuff up further because they do eat those, although these ones are pretty big and they haven't really messed with them. I've also got honeyberries. I've got bee balm. There's a bunch of stuff out there, and Dora gave me a bunch of stuff, so I think there's even some like gladioluses that need to be planted out there. So we'll get that all, see about how much that's going to cost to get that all done, because if I have to wait for Bob to do it, it's not going to get done. Okay, so there's that. Georgie the Goose is growing like a weed. So we'll be getting him friends here later on this month. He needs to have some other geesey friends to be with him. And I'm looking for other names that start with a G. We did have Gracie, but Gracie didn't make it. So if you've got any ideas for good goose names that start with a G, leave them in the comments below. In a group on Facebook, and it's I think it's a Pacific Northwest, or is it Western Washington farm, whatever. And somebody on there had posted that they were looking for rabbit hutches, yada yada yada. Somebody posted, then they live up Highway 12, that they have midget white turkeys. And I'm like, I have midget white turkeys. And she goes, do you have a breeding pair? And I'm like, yeah, I've got a male and a female. They're the only turkeys in there. So yeah, they're a breeding pair. And she just said, I want to, let's see here. How did she put it? She goes, I'm keenly interested to swap gene pools. She goes, it'll be a month before I have any poults, though. And I said, well, I'm not opposed to that. She said, I'd trade one started poult for 2 eggs. Sign me up. I can give you a dozen fertilized eggs, and I'll bring home 6 turkey chicks. Sign me up. I'm not even kidding. Sign me up. I'll do it. Because Bob and I have talked about that. We do want more turkeys for sure. And there is a great way to do it. She's happy. We're bringing other stock in that if they get bred with Tom or whatever, then they're, rather than hatch our own eggs out, I'd rather trade them to this other person. I got other feelers out. These other people have, I believe you say it, Nagarasset turkeys. And then they have Royal Palms and stuff. And he's like, well, I can't guarantee that I could get you only Royal Palm eggs. And I was like, well, I actually don't want eggs. I want the baby turkeys. And how much would they cost? And I've yet to hear back. Because we actually do want to do turkeys. I can't butcher Tom and Jerry. They're pets. I cannot do it. But I don't know, maybe I would feel different about other birds. Okay, so then that kind of leads into the next thing I'm going to talk about here. And it's just farm stuff that drives me freaking nuts. I'm not going to have 209 tomato plants for sale this year. I'm not going to have a very big variety at all. My plants were way overwatered. Hang on one second. Alexa, stop. My plants were overwatered. Bob did his best. He didn't listen to me. Now I got a headache and I'm taking Tylenol. He didn't listen to me. Well, actually, it's not that he didn't listen to me. He did not take pictures and show me what was going on out there, or I could have stopped it well in advance. He didn't say anything. And I am irritated about that. I'm not going to lie. There's nothing I can do about it now. What he did, though, is he installed a camera out there. So I post on Facebook. I call it the Georgie cam because I can see the little goosey goose out there. Little Georgie goose. But I can also keep an eye on my tomato starts, which is good. We should have done that from the get-go. Didn't even think about it. I will still have some tomatoes for sale. I just won't have the huge variety that I thought I was going to have. And what really pisses me off is I only had 5 seeds of some of the stuff, and it didn't make it. 1 second. If I don't take my Tylenol at noon, my body lets me know about it. Okay, so then going off of that, we got to get this public, I call it the public greenhouse. It's actually differentiated on our meter up here. It monitors both greenhouses, the chicken coop, and inside the fifth wheel here as far as temperature and humidity. So we've got the public greenhouse, and then I've got my greenhouse. And I only call it the public greenhouse because that's the one I let people go into, and we set it up for plants for sale. My greenhouse is a rack, and it's fine. Well, anyhow, yeah, that's got to get set up. I know Bob went in there and sprayed some weed killer, and we use organic weed killer. We do not use Roundup or anything, no ortho, nothing like that, because I would freak the F out about that. I am not going to have it up here at my place. But anyway, so then I can look out there and I can see that there's really no weeds growing or anything. Like I can see the weeds in my greenhouse. I can't see them out there, so that's great. So we can get that going, set up. I've got to all these plants that I started, I've got to get those thinned out so that they can be set out there for sale. So like all the brassicas and lettuce and stuff, that's all fine. The tomatoes were way overwatered, and some of them just got drowned out. The other thing that's bugging the heck out of me, see, it's like people think homesteading's all hippy skippy, and it's not. And especially when you're up against difficulties like me, being on oxygen, and basically the only thing I can say is, hey, we need to do this and we need to do that. And then you have a husband that's really gets frustrated because you can't do much of anything. And I mean, I get it, but you know, why move up here if I don't get it? Okay, well, I get it, but I don't get it. I'm not going to get into that. I had a situation arise yesterday. I had somebody message me via Nextdoor, and basically the dude told me off, said that I was ripping people off because I charge $4 a dozen for my chicken eggs. It's like, really? Because there's a lady on here in the for sale and free. If you click on that, and I'll click on that right now, and she is, where is it? Oh, did she take it down? She might have. Oh. Oh, looks like she might have taken it down. Well, she should have, because we were all... Oh, no, she didn't. There it is. She's selling a dozen eggs for $9. 1.5 dozen, an 18-pack for $12. Half a dozen for $6. She says, our girls have 1 acre to free range and they are fed organic feed. We have a variety of of breeds, which gives us the colorful eggs pictured below. They vary slightly in size as we have both established and new layers in our flock. And it's like, you're going to come on, when she's selling a dozen eggs for $9, you're going to come on and tell me I'm ripping people off. Okay. I don't know how you justify that one. Especially, I made this post on Nextdoor. I'm not going to read the whole thing. This one says she lives down in Woodland. She charges $6 a dozen and $8 a dozen for duck eggs. Me, I charge $4 a dozen for my chicken eggs, and I charge $6 a dozen for guinea and turkey eggs. Go figure on that. Yeah. Yep. So basically, I read what the guy said, and I messaged him back, and I was like, yeah, no. And he's like, well, I'm on a fixed income. Well, so are we. We are too. My husband gets a VA disability compensation, and we all know that Uncle Sam doesn't pay our veterans squat. You know? I'm sorry if you're on a fixed income. That part doesn't, I mean, it does matter to me. I don't know how to exactly put this. I mean, I care about that. I care about all people, because people on fixed incomes, they rarely have enough to survive. So yeah, I care about that. But don't come at me telling me I'm being greedy when there's one person selling their eggs for $3 a dozen over in Longview, but I think they also put on there that they had like 20 or 30 dozen eggs in surplus that they needed to get rid of. So yeah, I mean, if I had that many, I'd probably sell mine for $3 too. I did that actually last fall. We had 17 dozen, I think, built up, and I could not get them to move, so I sold them 3 for $10, 3 dozen for $10, just to clear them out so we could bring in fresh eggs. And then I put my price at $4, and that's where it's been ever since. And with the cost of their food, now mind you, we feed the chickens separate food than what we feed the turkeys and the guineas, and then the goose gets even separate than that. And all the fresh produce, I mean, holy cow. We feed them cabbage. We feed them berries like blueberries and strawberries. We also get them kiwi fruit. Like, I'll buy a big, I think it's a 3-pound clamshell at the restaurant supply store. And, excuse me, my throat gets dry. I can only eat just so many kiwi so fast. And so if they look like they're going to start turning south, we will actually cut them in half and toss them out there for the birds to eat, and they like them. So they get kiwi. They get romaine. We buy them big 6-packs of romaine lettuce. I'll steal one out of there, though. Arugula, spinach, chard, kale, collards, winter squash, cucumbers, zucchini, bell peppers, tomatoes, grapes, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, peas, alfalfa sprouts. And I feed them beets along with the tops. And I will, if I can get a hold of turnip tops, I feed them those too. Mustard greens, I forgot to mention those. Black soldier fly larvae. Grass doesn't cost anything, but I mean, these birds are not just fed chicken feed. They are fed a vast variety of things, because if you had to eat, all you had to eat for the rest of your life was chicken feed, scratch grains, and cabbage, you would get pretty bored with that pretty quick. So my animals, they get a varied diet. And so, yeah, I think that guy really thought that he was going to tell me off, and like I told him, he's like, well, you're just going to sit there and make profit. I don't make profit. As a matter of fact, my birds only cover roughly about 75% of the cost of their food, and we're not counting that produce. We're counting their supplies, their shavings, their feed, their electrolytes. Well, we have to count Georgie in that too, so we got I guess it is baby duck and goose food, and the baby electrolytes for Georgie. We have to now make sure that there is straw Georgie doesn't use shavings. Georgie uses straw. Then we have shavings for the birds out here. Their shavings alone, they're going through 6 to 8 bales a month at $8 a pop. Okay. 6 to 8 bales. If we, when it's nice out, we'll drop that down to 4 to 6 bales. It won't need as much. But when it's wet and raining out, in order to keep them out of a mud hole, we have to continually put shavings along the edge there. And then they tromp them on down. So 6 to 8 bales at $8 a pop. Their chicken food is, I want to say that's $20 for the layer. We don't buy special food for Walter because he gets into the turkey food, which has the higher protein that he needs. So we're not worried about that. The turkey's food is $18, I think, for a 50-pound bag. The chickens go through 2 50-pound bags a month. The turkeys and the guineas go through 1. They go through 2 bags of scratch every month. That's $25 a bag. These guys aren't making me money. I have one steady egg customer who buys 5 dozen eggs every Wednesday. He'll be here this afternoon. That's $80. After he buys his eggs each week, I have 2 dozen left over to mess around with. So there's another 8. That's $28 a week. So pray tell, how on earth am I making money off of these birds? It's just not happening. They cover roughly 75% of their supplies, and we cover the cost of their produce, which is another reason why I want to grow this garden, is because then we don't have that whole expense coming out at one time. So, well, he thought he might have told me what was what. I had to let him in on something that I have to turn people away almost on a weekly basis because I only have 14 hens and I have regular egg buyers, and they understand the value of what they're getting from me and they appreciate the price of that they're getting that for. So while he may have thought that he told me what was what, I sat back and I just breathed a sigh of relief because I don't have to figure out how to squeeze his request in to fill it for him. And of course, when I put that on, somebody's like, well, who was shading you? I'm not going to name names. They know who they are. And that's when I got, I don't know how many comments. A lot of 21 comments of how my egg pricing is very reasonable. Yeah, it is. It's actually ridiculously cheap because I did at that point in time when I wasn't selling eggs at $5 a dozen, I kind of undercut my competitors by $1 so that I could get the business because I wanted to establish the egg buying customers. Now, the people that do buy from me, they understand that if our feed bill gets raised any, I'm going to have to raise my egg costs $1 a dozen, so I'll be up to $5 a dozen. And we do have one egg buyer, and she is pretty local. We drive past the road she lives on all the time when we go into town, and she's in her late 70s, and I am not about to make her try to navigate this crappy driveway we have. So we take her eggs to her, and she's always really so cool about it. She just, whenever you can get to it, she goes, I treasure those eggs. I won't let my grandson eat them. I'm the only one that eats them. And she's so neat. And then I have, and then I sell my guinea and turkey eggs for $6 a dozen. And so that's what that is. I've got my dozen guinea eggs sold. Guinea eggs have the highest protein content of any of your poultry bird eggs. So chickens, ducks, whatever, what have you, they don't have they're small. They're trippy. Guinea eggs are just trippy. Taste just like a chicken egg, except for there's not much white. It's almost all yolk. And so, they're a trip. They're delicious, but yeah, they're $6 a dozen. And I feel that that's fair with the game birds because I've only got one, and it takes her so long to pump out that dozen of eggs. Luckily, with poultry eggs and stuff, they can sit out for 3 weeks, I think, max, before you want to refrigerate them. I've never had them sit out that long. That's that. Got to get Georgie's pen set up. We are going to probably we're going to bring our big dog kennel out. In the chicken pen, there is a wading pool in there that they have completely covered. We got to get that out. That chicken poop and everything in there is a good foot thick. It's crazy thick in there. But we got to get that wading pool out, get it all hosed off. I'm going to use it to grow dwarf corn in up here on the deck. They don't need that pool in there. And then there's 2 little dog crates. We will leave one of the crates in there, and then we will put a big dog crate in the corner and put straw in it. We'll close it up in the morning, and we'll let Georgie out, and we will have a little, I bought him a little kennel thing, like wire fence, where he can come outside at night. But I mean, for right now, he's still under the brooder. Until he gets all of his feathers, he's under the brooder. Well, it's not really the heat lamp. He's in his little playpen in there. But he's outgrowing those boxes. That little guy is growing like a flipping weed. It's incredible how fast these geese grow. But anyway, that is what is going on here at Kelpie Kapers Farm. We got to get these tomato bags. I don't know if I can show you or not. They're right there. You can kind of see them. But the grass is growing up alongside of them. We got to get those all pulled out of there. Bob doesn't know if he's going to have to lift those panels up to get all that grass out of there. And we got to figure out what we're going to put down. Wow, that was incredible. Learjet going in for a landing. Holy crap, that was low. I just saw that out the window. Oh, wow. Yeah, we're right under, like when planes come in to land at Kelso Airport, we're kind of right under their flight path. It's pretty cool. But anyway, we got to get something figured out that we could put down so that the bags are not sitting on the grass, because last year it got so ridiculous. Bob had actually spread out wood chips all over out there, and it looked really nice at first, and then the grass grew up and it was ridiculous, and we don't want to deal with that this year. We just want to, if the tomatoes are going to flop over, which they did last year, it didn't hurt production any. He got some of them clipped up, but there's a lot. I have 62, I believe, bags out there. So he, it got away from him. I can't fault the guy for that. Just can't do it. But we need to get that figured out and then squared away. They cannot sit in the grass like that tall grass. No. But anyway, that's what's going on. So if you have any good goose names that start with a G, because we're going to be bringing in, I believe, 5 more. 3 to 5. I don't, but it's at least 3 more. It could be 5. But I need names that start with a G. And we can't use Gracie, unfortunately, because Gracie's gone. So leave those names down in the comments below. So give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. And later.